This world has been connected, tied to the darkness, soon to be completely eclipsed.
Hello there, Sir from 17 once again. This is my Kingdom Hearts Final Mix, proud difficulty walkthrough. We're on our way to Neverland, but before we do that, we have to embrace the inner hippie and go on the acid trip that is known as the Gummy Paths. Which, once again, if you've not played Kingdom Hearts 2, you're going to hopefully be surprised in how much better they are there. Or if you've played the Birth by Sleep game on the PSP, they're surprisingly vacant. That is a game that is filled with minigames. It even has a minigame which is essentially a Mario Party rip-off that's used to build up your powers and, you know, kind of diversify the playing field. Yet, there's no minigame when it comes to the gummy ship. Well, there's no gummy ship technically. You're flying around on a glider of some sorts that I think is made by your Keyblade. And I have beat that game as Terra. The only problem is, on my emulator, there is no sound during the cutscenes, and there's no music in the game. So, instead of experience the game and its story, you know, in a lesser format, I'm just skipping the cutscenes to play it, which I know it's pretty damn horrific. But I look at it like this: I would rather play it and experience it because I want to play it in this way, and never, as opposed to never experiencing it. Because I do know that it'll come out on a high definition remix of some sorts, because they've already teased it for 2.5, and there it's going to be in high def, it's going to be on the consoles, it's going to be mapped correctly to the pads, and it's going to be a really great game, and I'm going to be able to just go through all the story and, you know, understand who all those characters are that I was killing, and why Terra's beating up Peter Pan, and all the other various moments I was kind of like, what is going on here? And use the lock-on, because the control scheme that I've done, which is I've changed the controls to map to a controller, and I've mapped the left and right on the PSP to the analog stick, so I can actually turn the camera with the analog stick. And it plays much better that way, but the concession that you have to take is you can no longer lock on. Because if you have an analog stick like mine, which is not necessarily drifting, but it must be giving off inputs when I'm not touching it, it interrupts the L and R feature. So when I'm trying to lock on to things, it doesn't work. And in the time it takes me to lock on, because I'm playing on the hardest difficulty, I'm dying. So instead of playing the game that way, I've been playing without lock on, which turns it into a significantly tougher game, let me tell you. But I'm still enjoying it. And there's also an ability called Shot Lock, where you hold both the L and R buttons and you shoot this gun, and it's super powerful, which I've used once. Because it doesn't work. And all because I don't want to treat my pad like a PSP, because it's not intuitive at all. But, you know, it's through choice, guys. If I default the control scheme, it does work. But then I have to hold the buttons to turn the camera, which I do on 385 day over 2.5 Fort Weeks Clay Fighter 64 edition. But that's a completely different story. The moral of this story, anyhow, is Birth by Sleep is a fantastic Kingdom Hearts game, and everybody should play it who likes the series. And if you don't have a PSP, then there are certain technologies on the internet I've heard of that can help you there. But this is Neverland. You may notice I'm using the Halloween key, which is a pretty decent key. I think it's called Trick or Treat, I'm not entirely sure. And this level is filled with the barrel spiders, so watch out for them. They do have a rather nasty suicide move. And then the unique enemy to Neverland, which is the pirate guy. I mean, there's a few unique enemies to this place, but the pirate guy is the symbolic one. And he's a bastard. And there he is. So not only does this guy have the ability to block, he also has the ability to do a couple of hit combos which do massive damage. He has a spin ability. He's a tough cookie, and I'm going to look over to my book now to give you some stats on him, because he's a very dangerous opponent. But down on this middle area, it gets really hectic. The camera is especially bad because it can't deal with the walls. It can't deal with the ceiling. And there are other games that have had this issue, and at least Kingdom Hearts has got a good excuse. It was made in the early 2000s when camera was not, you know, as finely crafted as they are now, or as easy to control. But the pirate is literally just called the pirate. It's kind of trendy, I guess. He has 105 life on normal. Another thing to bear in mind is this is not the final mix edition of the guide. I don't know if they did a final mix guide. So there has been quite a significant amount of tweaking under the hood on this game, and not all of it is apparent, because even the wikis don't seem to have the complete patch notes. They just seem to have a general, overview. But his stats are pretty nominal. He drops both money balls and HP balls. He has a 2% chance of dropping high potions, a 1% chance of a mega potion, and a 4% chance of a power gem. And I know from experience of synthesizing the ultimate weapon on this game that you're going to need some power gems. So that's probably something you might want to stock up on. But you're going to need other things that are a much bigger pain in the ass. And if you're willing to do the synthesis, you're going to have the patience to stick it out, because it does take a long time. And my problem with it was I came at it from a Kingdom Hearts perspective of, 10, 12, 13 years ago, whenever the game came out. I did this on that game. I got the ultimate weapon, I did all the synthesis on it. I beat all the secret bosses that somebody in a stream chat the other night tried to tell me weren't in the vanilla version, which is wrong. They were in the English vanilla version. Just because the other parts of the world didn't get them doesn't mean they weren't in the vanilla version of the game. I killed Ice Titan, Kurt Zisa, Phantom, and Sephiroth all the way back there when a game first came out. Because I have the memories of doing it. That was the game I knew. That's what I was exposed to. I didn't know there was stuff on the internet about the game, because at that time I didn't check the internet for things. I just played. And I was looking at it from the perspective of, I've already done this once, and I was good at it, because I was able to do it quite quickly. And on Final Mix, they've completely changed how the systems work. And what they did on this game, or on Final Mix to be specific, is they changed the synthesis materials, because they introduced exclusive content for the revision of the game. What ended up happening was, there are now specific Final Mix Edition enemies that drop the rarest synthesis material, so instead of knowing exactly what to farm, where to farm it, and the fastest way to farm it efficiently, I now had to figure out how to kill these other enemies, and some of those Final Mix Edition Heartless are really, really tricky. Like, the Sniper Wilds made no sense. I didn't know what was happening. I went up, I killed one, the second one turned into 1,000,000, and then I died. What the fuck is happening? But anyhow, guys, this is Anti-Sora. He's the Shadow, the Dark Link equivalent in Kingdom Hearts. And this is actually a pretty tough boss. And I say tough. My first playthrough on Proud difficulty when I wasn't recording, I killed him first time. I didn't find him that tricky, just evaded him, hit him, hit and run kind of tactics, healed when I needed to. Cast Aura occasionally, to get the defensive boost. Use Strike Ray to get some iframes and do some quick damage. Nothing special. On my recording run, this guy killed me about 3 times, and I couldn't figure out why, and the only thing I can think of is perhaps I'm a little bit under-leveled to what I was when I beat him the first time, so I had a much easier time with him then. Or maybe I was just playing worse, having a bad day. It does happen, we do have those days. But the strategy for this guy is hit him, and get out of there before he counterattacks. He'll split into 3, 2 of them are fake, 1 of them is real. It's easy to tell the fakes because they die after like 1 hit. And just be aware that he goes under the ground and he starts doing some really cheap attacks the closer you get him to death. And to evade them, you can either roll around, you can jump on the bed over there where the chest is, and it generally brings him out. And you just want to maximise on, using your MP wisely to use your vulnerable or your invulnerable attacks, like that one I just did there, or just to give yourself a nice little boost, or revive your teammates. But his stats are as follows. He has 750 life, 27 strength, 21 defense, 2000 experience, and he gives you a Raven's Claw. So, the book says that Sora's Shadow uses a sweeping blow as a regular attack. As he needs to pause after executing this, you should dodge the blow and repeatedly strike him from behind. So, that is pretty much the consensus of the fight. Dodge his moves and then hit him, or hit him, then dodge his moves. It says he creates mirror images. If you have scan, you'll be able to tell them apart because they have bigger lives, and we do know that already. It says a thunder attack will quickly serve to do away with the phantoms. Yeah, it doesn't really say much. Which is what these books generally don't. That it was one of the funniest things about the Final Fantasy X book, the official guide. Like, the strategy for penance was good luck, this guy's super hard. Like, come on, guys, you're getting paid to make this fucking book. How lazy is that? You know, they didn't even say, summon your Jimbo and pay him every single penny that you have. You know, they didn't. They didn't tell you about, you know, getting your stats up to 255, needing a ridiculous amount of luck just to hit penance. You know, they didn't mention quick hitting rather than standard attacks. They didn't mention using any mix abilities with Riku. They didn't mention the attack reels with Waka. There was tons of things they could have told you, and they didn't. You know, they didn't mention summoning an Aeon to take a hit so that your team didn't take it and you spent the next few turns healing the damage that he did. You know, they didn't tell you that when he did these attacks, they broke your characters so that you had to remedy them and ensuna them. It didn't tell you the benefits of cheering to boost your stats and, you know, increase your defense on this passive bonus that's actually really good when your entire team does it. There's a ton of strategy on Final Fantasy X that they could have said. But instead, this is the hardest guy in the world, you'll need tons of Mega Elixirs. Like, come on, guys, that's bullshit. And now I think of it, I can't even remember that fight so much, it was so long ago, but I know my first victory over Penance took 5 hours. So there you go. And I was very pleased to see him die. But here is anti-Sora. You know, he keeps turning into ink and attacking. One of the trickiest parts of this fight, again, is going to be the camera. The camera and the lock-on are something that are really going to get you caught. And it's easy to pick and gripe at the camera, but I misremember things, and I think we all do. Like, when I was playing this game, I was thinking, you know, I wish this had a camera like Metal Gear Rising, because Metal Gear Rising's camera was perfect and great. And then I played Metal Gear Rising again, and then I'm reminded that its camera was good for the game, and then certain sequences, it was god-awful. And one of the things that really made me notice was the VR missions. Anybody that saw my guide probably heard me say that I don't really like VR missions. I liked them in the original Metal Gears when they were about stealth and when they were about, you know, doing a level and killing everyone or not being seen and stuff. As soon as they started introducing protect Meryl with a sniper rifle controls like a piece of dog shit on a string, I wasn't interested because it's not skill at that point. It's the pad, the game, the sniping doesn't work. It just wasn't fun at all. And I still haven't done those, and I've done everything else. The bomb defusals, the photographs, all the fun ones I did easily. The sniper one, just, I can't do that. I physically can't do that. It is beyond my level of precision because I'm used to controls that work. But I didn't go near the VR missions on Metal Gear Rising. All you have to do here, guys, is kill all the enemies, and then a couple of the like boat plane things are going to show up, kill them, and then we get to fight Captain Hook. Captain Hook, he's very, very dangerous, but he's also really easy when you know his tells. But I avoided doing them, and the other day I just had this thought, like, I should really do those VR missions. I love that game so much, I should at least try and do everything on it, you know, instead of, you know, beating the main game and doing it really, really well and showing that I was gifted and, you know, I was patient enough to do really cool things with it. I should probably apply some of that to the other parts. So I started playing them, and lo and behold, I was getting fucking mad. But the thing I noticed was the camera is horrible in those missions. And it's something I only noticed in Sam's campaign, because it was never a problem in Raiden's at all. And the problem is simple. The camera auto-corrects when it comes up against resistance from the geometry in the level. And normally, when you were fighting as Raiden, you weren't in situations where you were forced to have the camera correct itself. You didn't get in those moments where you're running, you're holding the run button and the camera button to look behind you as you're running away from someone who is a legitimate threat, and then all of a sudden, your camera does a 180 because it's been pushed back into position. And you're like, whoa, what happens then? And instead of running away from someone, you run into them and they insta-kill you. And you sat there thinking, what just happened? Why have I just gone from being in full control and confidently winning to I've just been beaten by the game? And it's all because of this feature that they've added to it. And you can't turn it off. And in a lot of games you can. Dark Souls has a camera that clips on geometry. And you can turn it off. And a lot of people do. I like it because it keeps me in check. But I understand why you would turn it off on that game, because it does fuck with certain situations. But on those VR missions, VR mission number 18 is a famous one because you have to do a gauntlet of fights and you pretty much die in one hit from the big things, and there's a lot of big things. There were times when I had the Fenrir, which is the second to last phase of this gauntlet fight, and the camera was just like fucking me completely. I was like, come on camera! And you're probably thinking, why didn't you lock on? The lock-on remedies this problem quite well. And it does. But you know, when you lock it onto everything but the one you want. And this is a life or death situation where at any moment you can be insta-killed. It was just appalling that they didn't do something about that. And that is the first thing I would have patched. But then again, if I was on the dev team, that would have been the first thing that I pointed out and said, it has to be fixed. But this is Hook. Good old Captain Hook. At a distance, he'll throw presents at you like that blow up. They'll enable you to do a combo. Listen to what he says. When he says something, it generally means he's going to counter you, because Hook is a counter fighter, and his counters kill. The one thing you need to watch out for is when he gets mad. He loses his temper, he goes all cartoonish and red, and then that's it, you see it? There's even a little whistle to show you that he's blowing steam out, and then he does this move, which is going to murder you. If you try to mash attack through this move, you will die. So instead, use the strike raid that I just did. You're completely invincible, you're doing damage, and it lasts just long enough for you to come out of it when he's tired, and then you can reprise and you can attack him and get some quick damage. And that's all you want to do. You want to lure the presence at a distance, then go in close and beat him up. As soon as he does that, hit him with a strike raid. Once the strike raid is finished, you can then start comboing him. It didn't work so well just then, because he staggered his move by dropping. Did you notice he started on the edge and then he fell, which interrupted the animation, and that was time he would have wasted attacking this. So just be aware of, you know, the little inconsistencies that can happen, and just be aware that he does some wicked damage. And his stats are as follows. He has 900 life, 27 strength, 21 defense, and he gives you 3,500 experience, or 3,400. He doesn't drop any items. It says, run directly towards him, evade his bomb attack, and quickly strike him. So that's a decent one. Dodge sideways when your opponent begins to dagger blows and counter his assault, which is good advice, I guess, but you can still get hit that way, so you want to be extra careful on Proud. Refrain from using fire, as Hook will dart around uncontrollably if attacked with fire while airborne. So don't hit him with fire, big no-no. And there's no point killing any of the battleships because they respawn, I didn't mention that. But don't ignore the pests, they don't do anything. And apparently after this, we learn Ars Arcanum, or Ars Arcanum, as I like to call it. And it always makes me think of Yu-Gi-Oh! And Arcana. But it's an extremely powerful secret art, and it's one of the best combos on the game. It is the Riku 2 killer, it is the Ansem killer, it is a fantastic move. And I was watching a streamer last night who didn't realise you can press triangle to elongate the combo, so he was kind of wasting it, and it does cost a lot of MP, so it is definitely something you have to moderate, because if you use it too much, you won't be able to heal. And if you try and use an item, you'll get interrupted, and you'll die. But that is the end of Neverland. That is another world sealed. There's probably going to be some backtracking here, maybe to Traverse Town or to Colosseum coming up, but after that we will be heading towards Hollow Bastion, which is the second to last level in the game, and it is one of the toughest. So thanks for watching, and you take care now.